Unions fighting the expansion of Bristol Airport say they're confident of blocking the plans when they argue their case in court tomorrow. Opponents will accuse planning inspectors of failing to follow the correct legal process when they heard the case earlier this year. The airport first revealed its expansion plans in 2018, but it wasn't until 2 years later that it was considered by the local council, who, despite officers' recommendation to approve, was rejected by councillors on environmental grounds. Airport bosses appealed, and a 4-week public inquiry was held at Weston-super-Mare Town Hall. After months of waiting, the independent Planning Inspectorate overturned the original decision and granted the expansion in February. And that's led to this week's 2-day challenge in the High Court in Bristol. Well, Richard Payne reports on what's being called the biggest environmental decision in the region for a generation.
On his small holding in the shadow of the Mendip Hills, Humphrey Lloyd's passion is for the land which gives him a living. But it's what's happening overhead which evoke equally strong emotions. His market garden is directly beneath Bristol Airport's flight path.
There may be 10 times a day, sometimes they're up to 30 or 40 times a day, it seems to me. Just zone them out most of the time.
He's one of many living and working alongside the airport who fear for their communities if the expansion goes ahead.
Sometimes it's really annoying. Sometimes it wakes the kids up when I'm trying to put them to bed at night. But to be honest, that really is small beer compared to the fact that a small airport is being expanded into a bigger airport at a time when we're suffering an ecological and climate emergency, and the government has claimed that we're going to be carbon neutral by 2050. Expanding an airport in that context is utterly ridiculous.
The latest airport expansion plan is proving the most controversial and most contested. It wants to increase the maximum number of passengers it can serve from 10 million a year to 12 million, and flight numbers would grow by a maximum of just over 10,000 a year to a limit of almost 86,000. The investment is a bigger terminal, new transport links and car park. In total, the investment would be around £250 million. It's claimed 800 new jobs will be created on site and 5,000 in the local economy. Declining an interview on camera, an airport spokesperson said the decision to overturn the council's original rejection was excellent news for the region's economy, adding it allowed it to create thousands of new jobs in the years ahead and open up new direct links and support inbound tourism. Since then, we have pushed ahead with our plans for net zero carbon operations by 2030 and our work with partners in the region to decarbonise flight. But if opponents have their way, it will be for nothing. From an upstairs room in his South Bristol home, Stephen Clark has coordinated a resistance campaign involving thousands of people. The files on the shelves testament to years of unpaid work he's dedicated to a cause he says is the biggest environmental decision in the region for a generation.
What they're there for is to try and allow people to fly without feeling guilty, and to allow them to expand without feeling guilty. It's greenwash. We have these legal obligations. People are getting more aware and more worried about climate change, and I don't think airports will be allowed to expand indefinitely. And I think Bristol is very important as a test case. There's all these other airports waiting to expand as well, and I think if we can stop it in Bristol, which I genuinely believe we can, I think that would be an amazing thing.
Opponents say the aim is not to close the airport nor deprive tourists of their annual holidays, but rather to stop it getting any bigger. A prospect many of its neighbours say they dread. Richard Payne, ITV News, North Somerset.